I have a lot of experience using the stories in my head to create fear or anger, resentment or sadness. Today's episode is about me using the story in my head to begin the healing process. Check it out. One of the experiments that I've been working on lately is practicing contentment. And it has looked very different than I thought it was going to look. So I thought I was going to pick up like a literal moment, a 60-second period of my day, remind myself that I am not in danger, that I don't need anything in that 60 seconds, that I don't want anything in that 60 seconds. And all I have to do in that 60 seconds is just breathe, just take deep breaths and just say to myself, I am content, and just practice this contentment. And it came from thinking about children sitting in, like a baby pool, a baby swimming pool, and they're just so content. They just sit there. There's no bullshit. There's no drama. They just are present and they're just content. And I was practicing that and realizing that it's much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. 60 seconds is a lot longer than, I thought it was going to be in this particular exercise, because it doesn't take long for me when I'm like, okay, no, I'm not in danger and I don't really want anything right now. I don't really need anything. And as soon as I get to that spot, like 12 seconds into my experiment, to my practice session of 1 minute, I get to a place that, I need to do the laundry. I need to do that. And then I immediately go to, I don't have this minute for contentment because I need to use this minute for other things. That's where I go. And I've been really trying to work through that and just allow myself to feel a little angsty, but finish the entire 60 seconds. I use my phone even. I set a little timer thing, and just for 60 seconds, just be. And so, contentment is the direction I'm going in. I'm allowing myself to not be good at it yet. I'm allowing myself to just make it sometimes 12 seconds and reminding myself to take a deep breath. Sometimes I go all the way to 60 seconds and I just practice. Anywho, so I'm in a space this week where I am really having to focus, like 60 seconds, Amy, just relax. Even if you're kind of angsty, be angsty, just give yourself 60 seconds and recognize that all hell is not going to break loose because I've taken this 60 seconds to sit my ass in the baby pool, the kiddie pool, and just breathe. Just try to be present. Just try to relax, to slow down, to collect myself, And as I'm working on this one particular 60-second period of time, this guy in my tribe just completely hijacks my 60 seconds, just totally does something that pisses me off for a multitude of reasons. The behavior itself pissed me off. The fact that I was trying to be content and he fucked it up pissed me off. The fact that it was reminiscent of so many other things that kind of looked similar that he does that pisses me off. And I went from, let's ooh la la, try to practice contentment, to wanting to just hug this person around his neck really tight. I just went from 0 to 60 within my 60 seconds. And then I spent the next 2.5 days being pissed, retelling the story of what had happened, retelling this message of, see, Amy, you're just not important. Your contentment's not even important to him because he just walked right in and just jacked it all up. I just added to the story. I projected probably what he was doing and what he was thinking and what he was feeling, which is based on, my storytelling and what I'm feeling right now, which is anger. And so then I jade it and I make it all convoluted with my projected feelings. I'm sure he was being an asshole. Because now I'm looking at it through my angry goggles. And when I'm looking at anything through angry goggles, it is damn near impossible for me to see the behavior that somebody else did that pissed me off as an accident, or the behavior as something that I misunderstood, or the behavior that had nothing to do with me, but yet I've personalized it, or, a behavior that happened because that person is angry or scared or sick or injured, or I don't allow for anything else other than that person was being an asshole and it was intentional. Because sometimes when I get all angry and I'm using my angry goggles, it's like I have to justify my own anger. So I have to turn that other person into a monster, and I'm a victim, and that's what perpetuates the stories and the retelling of the stories and the recreating of the thoughts and therefore the feelings. And then I end up just wallowing in anger because I threw on my angry goggles. And I remember being little and going to the store and falling in love with this pair of neon orange goggles. They were fantastic. And my head was so little that the little elastic parts on each side that you pulled to tighten your goggles onto your head, they were so long. They were hanging down like, dog ears basically. But I loved these things and I wore them the entire summer. And right now, thinking about me throwing on my angry goggles last week and wearing them for days, makes me just think about these neon orange goggles. So, quick little ta-da, if you're listening, kind of imagine a pair of angry goggles so you can identify and think about what you look like when you're wearing them, because that's what I'm thinking about right now. And, damn, I look ridiculous, and I cannot imagine somebody coming at me in anger wearing those goggles and me taking them seriously. So I'll be thinking about that next time I throw my neon orange angry goggles on. And I just had another thought, a moment of clarity, and in this case, a moment of embarrassment as well, because guess what? No babies wear goggles, right? In the kiddie pool. There's no goggles there where you're just chilling, being present. No, the goggles get thrown on when you're in the shallow end. When you're in the end with all the other children romping and playing and going upside down and somersaulting and sitting on the bottom and trying to float and hold each other down. They're splashing and squealing. Oh my God, utter chaos. That's when we put our goggles on, right? So for just a second, I go sideways and I'm thinking about being a child, going to the swimming pool. We went to a public pool, and when we drove up, you could smell it, that chemical smell, that chlorinated water that's just permeating throughout, the air all around the pool. And you get out of the car and you're at the pool. Even if you can't see it, you're there. And for me, it's not a pleasant smell, but it reminds me of an exciting experience because I love going to the pool. And I would go in and, I would be hanging out in the shallow end, kind of near the steps, because I've always been short. So the deep end for me started really in the shallow end. So I was always by the steps, and I was always by the youngest children in the pool, which I didn't much care for really, because they were always splashing and squealing and shit. And I just never really did like that. And the shallow end of the pool is where there's a lot of kids and there's a lot of chaos. And it always felt just kind of unpredictable to me and a little sporadic, a little bit threatening. And I'm just thinking back to being a kid and loving being at the pool, but not loving all the little moments, I didn't love the moments where in the shallow end, the play got just too rough and it scared me. I didn't like those moments. But the shallow end of the pool and those moments that are awkward and uncomfortable are critically necessary. That's really where we learn to set boundaries. We learn how to state them. We learn how to respect them. We learn what happens when we cross them. All of that is shallow end of the pool shit. That's where we learn where we end and somebody else begins. That's where we learn the behaviors that are playful, the behaviors that are scary, the things that we enjoy doing with other people. It's our social life, if you will. The shallow end of the pool. It's a valuable part of life. I love being childlike. I love to play and to romp and to squeal and to run around. And I like to get so excited that I just, throw my hands up in the air and make fists. Like, yay, I'm so excited. But yet, the shallow end of the pool comes with some bullshit too. So I'm thinking I have gone from this moment of trying to have contentment to getting irritated because I felt like a boundary had been crossed. A boundary, by the way, that I didn't even know I had, okay? So I could have stopped and said, oh, dude, I just realized that, that is bothersome to me. No, I just threw my goggles on, felt like he'd splashed me in the face, and I just went totally on the offense. I was splashing back, just harder and faster and stronger, just all up in his shit. Oh, and then let me be honest about this. While I'm acting like a jackass, I would really like the other person to respond to me very loving, very kind, very patient and serene. Really, seriously. But he didn't. No, we're going at it. At this point, we're doing, horseplay in the shallow end. That's what they call it. No horseplay. That's what we were doing. Basically, in a nutshell, in that exact first incident where I was pissed, I went on the offense. I went on the attack. I became aggressive because I did not see him as a playmate in the shallow end of the pool. I saw him as my enemy. And I feel guilty about that now. Because looking back on the one little minute that irritated me, that angered me so much in the beginning, was really not that big of a deal. Truth be told, it was a boundary that I hadn't stated. I don't even know if I was aware. Well, I guess I was, because in the course of the 2 days where I recounted every other time that he'd pissed me off in similar ways, they were always the same basic boundary, but I had never stated it to him as, hey, dude, please don't cross this boundary. Never. I can't remember a single time. That's the, oh God moment. And I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed because he did one thing that he didn't even know was going to be an issue. And in effect, I splashed him in the face, jumped on top of him, held him down, and tried to drown him for 2 straight days. That's what I did with all the anger and all this shit that I had stirred up in my head. Because at that point, I blamed him for all the anger. I blamed him for all the moments. I blamed him for all the disrespect of screwing over my boundaries and stomping all over them. But when, in fact, I was the one being the asshole, the kid that nobody wants to play with in the shallow end of the pool with my angry goggles on, when I have on my angry goggles, not only can I not see other people accurately, nugget for the day, I cannot see myself accurately. I cannot see myself accurately. I'm going to have to make I feel guilty. I should feel guilty. I've crossed my own personal boundary. This is not how I want to act. I don't want to be the kid in the shallow end that nobody wants to play with. Both of us having the opportunity to say, hey, wait, stop. That's a boundary. Don't splash me in the face. But it had gotten so intense, I just could not see that as an option. I had created myself a space of just anger. And I just can't see the options when I'm angry. That's something that that's my nugget for today. Remind myself that I cannot see options when I'm angry. My angry goggles do not allow for peripheral vision, for a larger scope, a larger view of what's happening. And I want to fix it. And I know in order for me to make it right, I need to talk to this guy and say, hey, look, this is what happened. This is how I reacted. I wish I'd reacted different. And I'm sitting here a little bit tickled with myself because it's a bit ironic that I will sit here and talk into a microphone, tell my entire story that's been in my head for the last week, and release it as a podcast for utter strangers to listen to if they choose. But yet I have never just stopped and looked at my close ones, the people in my tribe, my loved ones, and say, yo, let me tell you the story in my head. I'm pretty sure it's inaccurate, and I would like to change it. I don't think I've ever done that. So I think that's what I'm going to do today. I think I'm going to say to this guy whom I care for, I'd like to tell you the story in my head, and I'd like it to be a different story. And that's how I'm going to address it. I'm going to try something new. I'm not going to tell him all the things that he did wrong, and I'm not going to tell him all the reasons why I did what I did and justify it and excuse it and minimize it and defend it. I'm just going to say, hey, here's the story. And then I'm going to apologize for trying to drown him. That's going to be my experiment. I ramble, and I appreciate anybody that's listening to me ramble, and I appreciate anybody that's attempting any of these experiments because they're hard. But today's experiment is a doozy. It's a doozy. I'm going to go tell my story, the one that's in my head that I have created, to somebody that I have wronged, and then I'm going to ask for their forgiveness. I challenge you to do the same.